Now I've been thinking within myself, quoth Little John, what we are fighting for, but albeit I do not rightly know. Why do I, said the cook. I bear no love for that Percy Stewart, but I thought that we had engaged to fight with one another, and that it must be done. Now, quoth Little John, it doth seem to me that instead of striving to cut one another's throats, it were better for us to be boon champions. What sayest thou, jolly cook? Wilt thou go with me to Sherwood Forest and join with Robin Hood's band? Thou shalt live a merry life within the woodlands, and 70 good champions shalt thou have, one of whom is mine own self. Thou shalt have these suits of Lincoln green each year, and 40 marks in pay. Now thou art a man after my own heart, cried the cook right heartily, and as thou speakest of it, that is the very service for me. I will go with thee, and that right gladly. Give me thy palm, sweet fellow, and I will be thine own companion from henceforth. What may be thy name, lad? Mind to call me Little John Goodfellow. How, art thou the indeed Little John, and Robin Hood's own right hand, man? Many a times often have I heard thee, but never did I hope to see that set eyes upon thee. And thou art indeed the famous Little John. And the cook seemed lost in amazement, and looked upon his companion with open eyes. I am Little John, indeed, and I will bring to Robin Hood this day a right stout fellow to join his merry band. But ere we go, good friend, it seemeth to me that we have a vast pity that, as we have had so much of the sheriff's food, we should not also carry off some of his silver plate to Robin Hood as a present from his worship. Ay, merry as is, said the cook, and so they began hunting about and took as much silver as they could lay hands upon, clapping it into a bag, and when they had filled the sack, they set forth to Sherwood Forest. Plunging into the woods, they came at least to the greenwood tree, where they found Robin Hood and 80 of his merry men lying upon the fresh green grass. Then Robin and his men saw who it was coming. They leaped to their feet. Now welcome, cried Robin Hood. Now welcome, Little John, for long hath it been since we have heard from thee, though we all knew that thou hadst joined the sheriff's service. And how hast thou fared all these long days? Right merrily have I lived at the Lord Sheriff's, answered the Little John, and I have come straight thence. See, good master, I have brought thee this cook, and even his silver plate. Thereupon he told Robin Hood and his merry men that were there all that had been happened him since he had left them to go to the fair at Nottingham town. Then all shouted with laughter except Robin Hood, but he looked grave. Nay, Little John, said he, thou art a brave blade, and a trusty fellow. I am glad thou hast brought thyself back to us, and with such a good companion as the cook, whom we all welcome to Sherwood Forest. But I like not so well that thou hast stolen the sheriff's plate, like some paltry thief. The sheriff hath been punished by us, and hath thou 300 pounds, even as he sought to despoil another, but he hath done naught that we should steal his household plate from him. Though Little John was vexed with this, he strove to pass it off with a yeast. Nay, good master, quoth he, if thou thinkest the sheriff gave us not the plate, I will fetch him that he may tell us with his own lips he giveth it all to us. So saying, he leaped to his feet, and was gone before Robin Hood could call him back. Little John ran for full 5 miles, till he came to where the sheriff of Nottingham and a gay companion were hunting near the forest. When Little John came to the sheriff, he drove at his cap and bent to his knees. God save thee, good master, quoth he. Why, Reynold Greenleaf, cried the sheriff, when it comes so, and where hastest thou been? I have been in the forest, answered Little John, speaking amazingly, and there I saw a sight such as never before man's eyes beheld. Yonder I saw a young hart all in green from top to toe, and all about him a herd of 80 deers, and they too were all of green from head to toe. Yet I dared not shoot, and master, for fear lest they should slay me. Why, ho, no, Reynold Greenleaf, cried the sheriff, thou art dreaming. Art thou meant that thou dost bring me such a tale? Nay, I am not dreaming, nor am I mad, said Little John, and if thou wilt come with me, I will show thee this fair sight, for I have seen it with my own eyes. But thou must come alone, good master. Let the other fight them, and then they get away. So the party all rode forward, and Little John led them downwards into the forest. No, good master, quoth he at least. We are nigh where I saw the herd. Then the sheriff descended from his horse and bade them wait for him until he should return. And Little John led him forward through a close copse until suddenly they came to a great open glade, at the end of which Robin Hood sat beneath the shade of a great oak tree, with his merry men all about him. See, good master sheriff, quoth Little John, yonder is the hart of which I spake to thee. At this, the sheriff turned to Little John and said bitterly, Long ago I thought I remembered thy face, but now I know thee. Thou bid thee Little John, for thou hast betrayed me this day. In the meantime Robin Hood had come to them. Now welcome, master sheriff, said he. Hast thou come today to take another feast with me? Nay, heaven forbid, said the sheriff in tone of deepest earnest. I care for no feast, and I have no hunger today. Nevertheless, quoth Robin, if thou hast no hunger, maybe thou hast thirst, and well I know thou wouldst take a cup of sack with me. But I'm grieved that thou wilt not feast with me, for thou couldst have victuals thou to thy liking, for there stand thy cook. Then he led the sheriff, willy-nilly, to the seat he knew so well beneath the greenwood tree. Ho, lads, cried Robin, fill our good friend the sheriff a right beaming cup of sack, and fetch it hither, for he is faint and very. Then one of the band brought the sheriff a cup of sack, bowing low as he held it to him. But the sheriff could not touch the wine, for he saw it served in one of his own silver flagons, on one of his own silver plates. How now, quoth Robin, dost thou not like our silver service? We have gotten a bag of it this day. So saying, he held up the sack of silver that Little John and the cook had brought with them. Then the sheriff's heart was bitter within him, but not daring to say anything, he only gazed upon the ground. Robin looked keenly at him for a time before he spake again. Then said he, No, master sheriff, the last time thou comest to Sherwood Forest, thou didst come seeking to despoil a poor spendthrift, and thou wert despoiled thine own self. But now thou art coming seeking to do no harm, nor do I know that thou hast despoiled any man. I take my tithes from the fat priests and lordly squires, to help those that they despoil, and to raise up those that they bow down. But I know not that thou hast talents of thine own, whom thou hast wronged in any way. Therefore take thou thine own again, nor will I despoilelessness thee today of so much as 1 farthing. Come with me, and I will lead thee from the forest back to thine own party again." Then, slinging the bag upon his shoulder, he turned away, the sheriff following him, all too perplexed in mind to speak. So they went forward until they came to within a furlong of the spot where the sheriff's companions were waiting for him. Then Robin Hood gave the sack of silver back to the sheriff. "Take thou thine own again," he said, "and hearken to me, good sheriff. Take thou a piece of advice with it. Try thy servants well ere thou dost engage them again so readily." Then turning to the left, he left the other standing bewildered with the sack in his hand. The companions that waited for the sheriff were all amazed to see him come back out of the forest bearing a heavy sack upon his shoulders. But though they questioned him, he answered never a word, acting like one who walks in a dream. Without a word he placed the bag across his neck back, and then, mounting, rode away, all following him. But all the time there was a great tumult of thoughts within his head, tumbling over one the other. And just ends the merry tale of Little John and how he entered the sheriff's service.